Most people think the loud person wins. They don't. They just force everyone to play on their tempo. Look at what happens when you stop giving them extra material. No long defenses, no quick reactions, no trying to sound reasonable in the middle of chaos. In a meeting, at home, even in a text thread, people aren't responding to your logic first. They're reading your signal. Change one part of that signal and the room shifts. Use it wrong and you'll be misread. Let's break down what's actually happening. Here's the shift most people miss. In a lot of conversations, nobody is grading you like a debate judge. They're not scoring your logic. They're watching your form, your length, your pauses. How many times you restart a sentence. How quickly you soften your own point. And that turns into a silent scorecard. Because when you speak for 2 minutes to say what could have been said in one line, you don't just add information, you add something else. Hesitation. You add the feeling that you're asking to be allowed to stand where you're standing. Watch it in a real room. It's Tuesday, 9 a.m. A meeting. Someone cuts in while you're mid-sentence. You try to push through anyway. You keep talking. You add context. You add backstory. You start clarifying what you really meant. And the more you try to rescue the point, the more the room reads you as negotiable. Not because you're wrong, because your delivery tells them you can be moved. Now watch the opposite pattern. Someone interrupts. You stop. You let the silence sit for half a beat. You don't rush to fill it. You don't stack extra words to prove you belong in the conversation. Then you continue like nothing happened, or you ask one simple question that forces the floor back to you. No performance, no scramble. The content didn't change. The signal did. Same thing happens at home. You're at the kitchen table. A family member says something sharp. You feel the pull to explain yourself. Every detail, every intention, every reason you're not the person they're painting. So you give them the whole paragraph. And while you're still on sentence 5, they're already relaxed because they've learned something. They can press you, and you'll start negotiating your own position for free. That's why some people feel strong without sounding aggressive. They're not winning with better arguments. They're refusing to broadcast neediness through their pacing. This isn't about being cold. It's about understanding the hidden rule. People react to the certainty in your structure before they react to the meaning in your words. And here's the part that matters later. There are places where even a clean signal can still get punished, when the power is uneven. But in normal life, in normal rooms, it's simple. The longer you keep going, the more data you hand them that you need approval. Here's why you can know exactly what to say and still say too much. Your body often reacts before your mind can choose. Your heart speeds up. Your jaw tightens. Your face gets hot. Your fingers want to move. And in that state, you don't speak to be precise. You speak to relieve pressure. That's when you start explaining. You add context. You correct yourself mid-sentence. You chase their tone. And later, you replay it in your head at 2 a.m., thinking, why did I give them all that? Because you weren't missing self-control. You were speaking from a system that was already speeding. So if you want short, clean answers, you don't start with words. You start with a reset that takes about 20 seconds. Not to look calm, to become usable. 3 steps. Simple. Repeatable. No drama. Step 1. Freeze the small movements for 2 or 3 seconds. Stop the foot tapping. Stop the hand talking. Stop the mouth jumping in. If you're holding a phone, hold it still. If you're standing in a hallway, plant your feet. You're not posing, you're cutting the reflex. Step 2. Slow the breath and lengthen the exhale for 10 to 15 seconds. Not a deep performance breath. Just slower than normal. Longer out than in. Enough to lower the internal speed so you don't spill words you don't mean. If your chest feels tight, let the exhale do the work. Quietly. Step 3. Give your mind 1 sentence to aim at. Not a speech, 1 line. Something like, stay on the standard, or keep it professional, or I only need 1 point. Pick it before you speak, the same way you'd pick an address before you start driving. Now, watch what changes. Someone throws a comment in a group chat at 3:17 p.m. You feel the surge. Instead of typing a paragraph, you pause, hands off the keyboard for 2 seconds, exhale, and choose the target line. Then you type one sentence. You stop. Or it's a meeting room. Someone cuts you off. Your body wants to race. You hold still, breathe out, and continue with one thought, not 6. Same brain, different state. Most people think the problem is they can't stay calm. No, the problem is they try to speak while their system is still lit up. And when you speak from that place, you will always give away extra. Do the 20 seconds first, then talk. And after you can cut the speed, there's a bigger question that decides everything. Are you in a conversation where power is balanced, or are you talking to someone who can punish you? Here's where most advice breaks down. Because some conversations aren't equal. With a friend, being clear can fix it. With a stranger, being calm can end it. But with someone who can punish you, saying it perfectly is not the whole game. When the power is uneven, the question isn't, how do I sound smart? It's, what is this going to cost me if it goes wrong? And that's not weakness, that's risk. So instead of walking into that moment like it's a fair debate, you need a 3-part decision. First, read the setting. Is this public or private? Is it a meeting with 6 people on Zoom or a one-on-one behind a closed door? Is there a paper trail, email, chat, a task board, or is everything said out loud and forgotten? And be honest about the history. If this person has snapped at people before, if they punish small pushback, that matters. If your last performance review was needs to be more cooperative, that matters too. Second, pick the goal before you speak. Are you trying to protect your job? Are you trying to keep your choices open? Or are you trying to solve it right now? Those are different moves. If it's a manager at 9:05 a.m. in a stand-up and they're blaming you in front of the team, solving it right now might be the most expensive option. If it's a coach after practice with everyone watching, correcting them might get you labeled difficult, even if you're right. Third, design your exit. Because in a power-tilted situation, the safest boundary is often a channel change. If they keep twisting your words, move it to writing. Can you send that as a note so I can respond clearly? If the tone is heated, move it to time. Let me look at the details and we can revisit this after lunch. If they're personal, move it back to criteria. I want to stay on the requirements and the timeline. This isn't about winning. It's about not giving them an opening. Most people fail here for one reason. They enter the situation trying to prove they're strong. But strength without a plan becomes a trap. And once you start thinking this way, you stop blaming yourself for not handling it better. You realize you walked into a risky spot with no risk model. Now listen carefully, because even if you do all of this right, there's still a catch. Sometimes speaking less doesn't make you look strong. It makes you look cold. And that's where short answers can backfire. Here's the part nobody tells you after you learn to be brief. Short answers don't automatically read as strong. Sometimes they read as cold. Sometimes they read as avoidance. Sometimes they read as, who do you think you are? And if you miss that, you'll do everything right and still make the situation worse. Look at 3 common setups. First, someone close to you. A partner asks at 11:47 p.m. Are you okay? You say, I'm fine. 2 words, clean. But what they're actually asking for is reassurance, not a verdict. So your short answer doesn't calm them. It alarms them. They hear distance, not clarity. Second, a co-worker who needs coordination. It's 9:12 a.m. on Slack. They ask, are we aligned on the deadline? You reply, no. Technically honest, but if you don't add the smallest context, you create panic. Now they're filling in the blank with their worst story. You're upset, you're blocking, you're about to escalate. Third, a tense relationship that's already fragile. A family member says, so you're just not coming anymore? You answer, correct. That's not a boundary to them. That's a slap. Because what they wanted was one sign that you heard them, even if you still say no. This is the hidden assumption. People don't only listen for your conclusion. They listen for proof you're present. They want one of three things: a signal that you understood, a beat that shows you're not dismissing them, and a tone that doesn't punish them for asking. And you can give all three without talking for 5 minutes. Here's the minimal signal buffer. One sentence to confirm the message, not the decision, the message. I hear what you're asking. I get why that feels personal. I understand you're worried about the deadline. Then a pause, a real pause. Not a rushed blur where you sound irritated. Then your line. Short, clear, final. No, not tonight. We're not doing that. That's it. Because shortness isn't the goal. Control is. You reduce words, but you don't reduce respect. You don't hide. You don't punish. You just stop feeding confusion. And there's one last line you have to watch. Being calm to protect your peace is one thing. Being calm to control the other person is something else. There's one risk nobody talks about when you learn to speak less. You can turn calm and clear into a weapon. And if you do, you don't get peace. You just get a new kind of chaos. Because the goal can quietly shift. You tell yourself you're setting a boundary. But what you're really chasing is the moment they go silent. The win, the control, the little power rush. So before you use the short voice again, run 3 checks. Check 1. What are you protecting? Your time and your nervous system, or your ego? If the point is, I want them to stop talking, you're not protecting peace. You're trying to dominate the room. Check 2. Are you leaving a door open for respect, or slamming it to force a loss? A healthy boundary sounds like a line and a limit. A tactic sounds like a trap. It's the difference between, I'm not doing this right now, and say one more word, and you'll regret it. Same number of words, completely different intent. Check 3. Do you have an action, or just a posture? If you're truly choosing yourself, you can exit. You can step out of the kitchen. You can end the call at 7:58 p.m. You can move it to an email with a subject line like, next steps on the deadline. You can say, put it in writing, and actually wait for the message. That's a boundary with follow-through. But if all you have is a cold tone and a stare, that's not strength. That's a performance. And performances always need a reaction. Here's the clean version. You don't get sharper to cut people. You get clearer to stop bleeding time. You don't speak less to make someone feel small. You speak less so you don't abandon yourself. And when you do it right, something changes. People don't approach you like you're hard. They approach you like you're consistent, like you have standards, like you know which conversations are worth your energy and which ones are just noise. So tell me this in the comments. Where do you usually trip? Stopping the body spiral, reading the power risk, or getting misunderstood because you went too short?